Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, GOP Senator from Kentucky. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. You just heard Dr. Price.
Good morning.
Good morning. You just heard Dr. Price right there. He says the plan you propose right now is going to put vulnerable people at risk.
I think it's sort of the opposite. The program they're putting forward, Obamacare Light, they're going to keep half as much as what Obamacare had presented, but they're not going to fix the fundamental problem of Obamacare. The fundamental problem of Obamacare is the insurance mandates. When you mandate what has to be insurance, it elevates the price. And when you tell people they can buy insurance after they're sick, they will, and you get what's called adverse selection. And so the adverse selection, the death spiral that everybody's talking about, will continue under the Paul Ryan plan. And my fear is that a year from now, people are going to come back and we're going to have all the same arguments again, that insurance premiums are still going through the roof and we still have a mess.
And you heard Dr. Price right there. He also said it's not fair to just look at this Ryan plan, as you just called it, in isolation. You have to look at everything the administration is proposing.
Yeah, the problem is as we as conservatives ran on repeal of Obamacare. I was elected in 2010, right after it came into place, to repeal it. We never ran on a replacement of Obamacare Light. We never ran on making the entitlement subsidies permanent. We never ran on an individual mandate or keeping the taxes or keeping the Medicaid expansion. We didn't run on that. And so they're really flat out false in telling us, oh, you guys ran on this plan. None of us ran on this plan. We ran on repealing Obamacare because it doesn't work. They're going to repeal part of it and leave in place all of the stuff that causes your insurance rates to go through the roof. So we have a plan, a replacement plan that we'd like to talk about at the same time, that instead of subsidizing people's health care, actually forces prices down, forces the insurance companies to come to the table. Under my plan, 37 million people who belong to AARP would be able to negotiate and buy a group policy of insurance, and that would drive prices down, particularly for people leading right up to retirement, but on into the retirement years. It's the only thing that would work to bring prices down, and we're not talking about that at all. That's a huge mistake by the Republican Party. Now we're in a bidding war with the Democrats over, well, we're going to offer half as much federal subsidies as the Democrats. We're never going to win that bidding war. It's a huge mistake. It's a public relations nightmare. They should scrap it all, start over, and let's have a real meaningful debate about how to fix it.
Have you convinced enough conservatives in the House to vote no?
I talked to the House Freedom Caucus leadership over the weekend. They still believe that the conservatives in their caucus don't want Obamacare Light. I believe that the real negotiation begins when we stop them. You have to stop them. Conservatives will only have a seat at the table if we have 21 votes in the House or 3 or 4 in the Senate. At that point, there'll become a real negotiation. That's why I passed out to them all the art of the deal last week, because we need to learn from the master, and let's make sure that we increase our leverage by holding the line.
So you don't think it's going to pass?
I don't believe so. I think there's enough conservatives that don't want Obamacare Light, and I think that they do not fix the problem. And here's the thing, and this is the biggest political mistake of Republicans who are not even thinking at all about how this is going to look. They call it repeal and replace, but when it doesn't fix the problems and you say you fix the problems, they're going to own it. And I promise you, in a year, the insurance markets will still be unraveling. The insurance companies will still be begging for more handouts. They have in the House plan bailouts for the insurance companies. Conservatives are not for bailing out the insurance companies. We're for empowering the consumer to drive prices down so you can get better cost insurance, but we're certainly not for when you get sick, the taxpayer takes over the tab for the insurance company. It's a terrible situation. What you do is you socialize the insurance company losses, but you privatize the billions of dollars that they make. I'm not for giving a gift to the insurance companies, and that's what this House plan does.
Finally, sir, you're also a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. We see the president standing by that claim about President Obama. It's caused a rift now with British intelligence over the weekend. How big a problem is this for the president's credibility? How does he fix it?
I think that we know one thing for sure, that the Obama administration did spy on Flynn. Now, whether it was direct or indirect, somebody was reading and taking a transcript of his phone calls, and then they released it. It is very, very important that whoever released that go to jail, because you cannot have members of the intelligence community listening to the most private and highly classified information and then releasing that to the New York Times. There can only be a certain handful of people who did that. I would bring them all in. They would have to take lie detector tests, and I would say, including the political people, because some political people knew about this as well. But we need to get to the bottom of who is releasing these highly classified conversations. And if the president was surveilled, he probably wasn't the target. I don't know that he was or wasn't, but if he was, they probably targeted someone in a foreign government, but then they listened to the conversation with Americans. But our government's talking to foreigners all the time. We can't allow people in the Intelligence Committee to release the contents of that information to the media.
But you
will get a deep state.
You
will have an intelligence community that has enormous power if that happens.
You don't believe President Obama ordered an illegal wiretap of President Trump?
Well, what happens is it's a little different than that. We target foreigners all the time, but they talk to Americans. They talk to the president. They talk to the national security advisors, and they're supposed to be masked. But there was something alarming the other day. General Hayden admitted that people all the way down to some of the lowest analysts can unmask who the American is. So if someone unmasked General Flynn and they're a low-level analyst, we need to be looking at their computer and finding out if they unmasked that conversation and if they spoke with the New York Times. You've got to put those people in jail because you cannot allow this to happen, or we will have, presidents being blackmailed or national security advisors being blackmailed. This is a huge, huge problem. Bigger than anything else that's being discussed is the fact that private conversations from the intelligence community perspective are being leaked to the press. That's not like a leak that says, oh, the president watches TV in his bathrobe. This is important to national security. You can't let it happen.
Senator Paul, thanks for your time this morning.